Actually, my item is not on the agenda, so two things. One is people that are watching this or people that are Zooming it. I know there are a lot of people that are interested in this issue about our animal control officer being accused of certain violations in court and having to defend herself. And it has to do with Frenchtown. It has nothing to do with East Amwell. But I did go to the county prosecutor's office today and get a little information, which I can tell now, or I can wait till the end. It's fine,
What did
either
you do
way.
with the not on the agenda? Because we've got some
Sure,
items.
that's all right. Okay.
Thank you.
See you later.
Yes, please. Cam?
I just wanted to say I'm really glad that the historic preservation ordinance is on the agenda. We've been working on that for a long time. A lot of people have been involved in that. What you have tonight is the 5th version. And with every successive version, more people got involved and it just got better and better. I think most of you know about it, but just to recap real quickly, it does not create any new regulations. It just creates guidelines so that the planning board and the HPC can help people with older homes and give them some guidance. And probably the most important thing it does is it creates local historic districts, which should make it easier for us to get historic preservation grant money. Because right now we only have the national historic districts. So having the local ones shows that we're really committed to historic preservation. So I'm optimistic about it, and I appreciate that you guys are taking it up. And Dante, thank you for all your help and support on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from any members of the public on items that are on our agenda? Will, you want to say something on our agenda before we start? Okay. Okay. Seeing nothing further from the public, without objection, we're closed to the public at this time. Okay. Number 9 on the agenda, approval of minutes. So we're reviewing the November 13, 2024 regular session minutes. The one proposal that I have is in the portion that was special discussion for Amwell Valley Ambulance Squad. The statistic that they provided, I think, got neglected. So I would propose that we add to what Mr. Hutchins and Stanley said, was that to date there had been 443 dispatches in East Amwell, and the rescue squad had handled 238, which is 53%, and they testified that that percentage is up from last year. So I would propose we include that. Does anyone else have a comment or addition to the agenda?
That's fine by me.
No.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the minutes with that amendment?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, all in favor, no opposed. Okay, so let's get to 10 on the agenda, special discussion items presentations. The first one that we have is stormwater compliance. Michelle Hovan is here. Thank you for coming, Michelle.
Thank you.
And in particular, I think you're going to give us an update on the recent stormwater inspection by DEP and how it went and proposals for going forward.
That's right.
Okay,
And
thank you.
Mayor, thank you. Deputy Mayor, members of the Township Committee, I appreciate your allowing me to talk about this. So my name is Michelle Hovan. I am your Stormwater Program Coordinator from Stormwater Compliance Solutions in Chester. And we've been working with Linda and Jason and Mike and, we're in our second year now under the new Tier A permit, which is an extensive stormwater permit that municipalities are required to comply with. And it used to be a Tier B municipality, which had much fewer obligations and regulations, and now you're a Tier A, as are all New Jersey municipalities. And we have done a lot of work in the last year and a half of, getting up to speed, getting our stormwater pollution prevention plan together, our required ordinances. All of the required steps have been taken. You guys are really very good as far as compliance goes. With, like I said, many thanks to Linda and to Jason. It's been really just a great team. So part of the compliance program is the DEP will come down and they will do inspections of the facility. We're required to take care of stormwater issues
at municipal facilities, and then, of course, out in the streets with culverts and storm drains and things like that. But the municipal facilities, we had the inspection at the end of October, and it went very, very well. If we could have gotten an A, if they scored it that way, we would have gotten an A. There were a couple of marks on it. One of them was immediately remediated. It was a missing storm drain label. And then, we have the tree ordinance to talk about. Maybe not tonight, but whenever you want to, I'm happy to come back if you want to talk about the tree ordinance. But that is an outstanding issue with the Tier A program that eventually will get fined, if that isn't addressed. So,
Do you know I know we've been working on this and talking about it for a
Right.
period of time. Where are we held up on this? Is it at our end, or?
Yeah, it's on our end,
Okay.
because in trying to work the requirements of the DEP in with our own ordinance, there's still some issues.
Okay.
And so we've made progress, but we're not totally done, so Michelle's right there. We have to close that out, and we're still working to do that.
So keep pushing us, please.
Well, I'll just put a real short little ending to that, which is the only thing DEP really cares about is that you have a removal and replacement provision that doesn't exclude anybody. So it's all zones, municipal, non-municipal, private, whatever it is. It's everybody's included in that ordinance, and it has to have some removal and some replacement provision. Doesn't have to be what the model is, doesn't have to be an extensive amount. It just has to have, basically, they're looking to stop clear cutting. That's really what they're trying to do.
As are we, and
Yeah.
and so some of the way the definitions were put in there, we were concerned weren't going to be protective enough of our, Sarowland Mountain Forest and the like. And so, their definition of street tree didn't really lend itself to our township, and then defining how that permitting process works. I appreciate your comment, and it is on our to-do list.
Well, if I can help in any way, I'm happy to
I
meet. Do you
appreciate
want to meet
that.
in subcommittee or whatever that is?
Thank you.
But the big issue is our grit yard. That's the big issue.
So which is why I've asked her I had a conversation with Michelle. I talk with Jason all the time on the grit yard and what this permit, this Tier A upgrade means to us. I had a conversation with Michelle on the phone, about a 45-minute conversation, and she shared some things that need to get discussed by the Township Committee and probably some decisions to be made by the Township Committee. So I asked her to come and share that information directly with you guys rather than go through me, because first of all, I'm going to probably butcher half of what she told me, and she's going to be much better at explaining it to you guys, so you can make an assessment on maybe what the best direction for East Amwell is on this great yard. So that's why I wanted to tee it up for you, what you're here for.
Thanks, Mike. And you're not going to decide this tonight either, I'm sure. So if you want to, again, meet in any way, just let me know. I'm here. I'm 5 minutes down the road. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. So, by way of history, when the DEP developed the Tier A permit that took effect in 2023, that was a major revision to the National Pollution Discharge Program, right? And it mirrors the EPA guidelines. All the states have to use some stormwater compliance program. When they made everybody be Tier A, they also added all these requirements, and they also developed a wood waste permit where they didn't previously make municipalities that had composting facilities have a separate permit. So under this new permit, if you have a composting facility, you either have to have a separate permit through the DEP, which is a very expensive, really crazy expensive endeavor, or you can get under the general wood waste permit. You could capture your activities under that. It's not the MS4 permit. It's not the regular stormwater permit. It's a separate permit. For our purposes, you've got the grit yard. You've got where people can come to drop off trees and brush and materials, and then you grind it and make mulch available to the residents at no cost. It's well managed in terms of the way it's placed and, the way the operations are over there. Jason does a really good job of keeping the area clean and tidy and, all of that. However, the minute you do the grinding, whether it's once a year or if it's every day or whatever it is, you can't do that under the MS4 permit. That's the piece that we need to address. We're either going to have to get a separate wood waste permit if you want to continue grinding, or you stop grinding and you develop some other program. So you wouldn't have the mulch, but you might have a drop-off service. And there's a couple different ways to do that. There's a couple of other issues that come into play with that. For example, you can't have the material there longer than 6 months under the MS4 permit. So it would have to be, a well-managed in-out, type of thing. Jason was thinking of using perhaps a dumpster. That would make a lot more sense, like a roll-off container where people could put the debris into the container. You could have the container hauled away. That has a cost, for sure.
And I'll share that as, I have those
Yeah.
numbers. I could share that when you're done going through.
And that's probably the easiest remedy for it. What changes is that you don't have free mulch. You still give the residents an opportunity to dispose of their wood waste, but they don't get mulch. I mean, that's the difference.
So let me interrupt you, say, so could you get to the bottom line part of saying, so what are the two options, if you could articulate each for how the town could proceed? One would involve a grinder, but a grinder would require a permit at X cost.
Right.
And the other would be not to grind and not to get a permit, but not to provide mulch.
If you were to continue what you're doing now, which is allowing people to drop it off and you grind it up and you make mulch out of it, then you could keep it there as long as you want, but you have to get that separate wood waste permit. That wood waste permit has an initial cost. So you'd have to first, we need to do a drainage control plan. We have to have a separate stormwater pollution prevention plan. You have to have sampling 4 times a year. The requirements to the compliance requirements of it are pretty extensive, and I estimated, I sent a proposal. I don't know if you've all had a chance to see it. But
150?
the startup costs are about $15,000 in that range. The ongoing costs are about 10. So a little under 10, yeah. So that is just to, and we can break it down however you want to have the discussion, but that's what the ballpark is. You just have the separate permit, and then you have to manage that permit and remain in compliance, with that. And it's really the sampling that's the biggest issue. Now, if you didn't do that and you just wanted to have another, like a disposal for wood waste, there may be some site grading issues that we have to do because it has to be 50 feet away from any swale, and right now it's not. We might have to build up a berm, and maybe just do some not major but modifications to the site that would make it compliant.
And I think one thing we're missing to address in that conversation, because I had this with Jason, if we collected and didn't grind, we'd still have to get rid of the brush at some point, somewhere.
Yeah,
There's
you'd
a
have to
cost
haul it
to
away.
that, right? That
Correct.
besides man hours, right? Besides our labor, man hours, we're going to have to pay one of these facilities to take our material. I understand, right?
You can't keep it longer than 6
So
months
basically, Michelle, the new permit shuts down our grit yard,
for free mulch.
and for storage too.
Well, for storage.
Well, no. If you had the wood waste permit, you could still have the materials there
For how long?
for as long as you wanted to.
But
For
would you-
under the wood waste permit, but under the regular MS4 permit, you can't have it there longer than 6 months.
No, but I guess so. But under the regular wood waste permit, the space is only so big. The pile's at the maximum now. We grind every year. So we can't store more than we already store there because
Under the wood waste permit,
no. But where are we going to put it?
Well-
we're gonna, I mean, it's like we're at capacity now. The only reason we grind is because the pile's too big, right? I don't think the plan was to grind and make free mulch. It was because we have no place for the wood. So after talking to Jason today, he's like, what am I going to do with that pile if I can't grind it? Right? He's got it load it with a machine into our dump trucks. If we do this model, load it into a dump truck with our machines, and then take it to a disposal facility, right?
Mhm.
That's what I understand. So that's another cost, right? So we have to do the $15,000 permit.
Okay, so I think we're mixing them a little bit. If you got
Okay.
the wood waste permit,
Right?
then your operations could essentially stay the same as they are right now. You have your big pile of wood debris,
Okay.
and you've got your mulch. You know, however you turn one into the other is permitted
Okay.
under that permit, and there is no time frame for that
Okay.
under the wood waste permit. The time frame comes into play if you don't get the wood waste permit and instead try to conform under the regular MS4 stormwater permit that you have right now.
Okay.
If you try to conform there, then you can't keep that material longer than 6 months, and you can never grind it. You can't do any sort of composting, grinding of any kind under that regular MS4 permit.
Okay. So if we do nothing, we could collect the brush,
Mhm.
right, this huge pile. We can't grind it.
No. If you do nothing, then you can't keep it longer than 6 months.
Okay, so if we, okay,
And then pay to dispose of somewhere.
right, so we do nothing, we collect it. Our labor, our DPW have to pick it up, put it in trucks and get rid of it somewhere
Mhm.
for a cost, I assume. I don't know what it costs, but it's,
Mhm.
I know what the dumpsters are gonna cost, cause he got quotes on that. They're about $600 a piece, but it's very restrictive on what you can put in it. So that would have to be monitored by, one of his guys, probably not volunteers. I don't wanna get you off track though, so
You're not.
because we had this conversation, I think I have a pretty good handle on it, but I want them to have the same handle that I do. So to recap, if we do nothing, the pile grows, and he has to load it with loaders in the dump trucks and go take it somewhere and get rid of it within 6 months.
Correct.
Okay, I'm clear on that. Okay, which is a cost.
Right.
Okay,
And if we went with the permit, it's 15 grand for the first year, and year after, it's 10,000, correct? Thereabouts.
That's the ballpark, yeah.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
plus the risk of whatever the stormwater management, whatever gets into the soil.
correct.
That program sounds like the state of New Jersey saying, we don't want you in the wood waste business, is what I'm hearing.
Well, it's actually more environmentally conscious than that. There have been pollution results from big recycling facilities, not necessarily the grit yard, but the ones that do the major wood,
Yeah.
Right.
They're like paper mill, but pulp factories.
Exactly.
And this is the part of the problem of being put into this larger tier that's really not what we're doing, right? It's the aftermath of that.
So they took everybody that did the composting under this new permit and said, this is what you have to do if you want to keep it. Because that black soot that comes from mulch, that's the harmful result. The decomposition of the materials has the increased nutrients, the phosphorus, the nitrogen, all of that. That contaminates the waterways. That creates the algae blooms. That kills the fish. That's why they really changed the parameters of that permit for everybody. So wood waste is wood waste compared to a little bit of wood waste and a lot of wood waste.
And if they did the sampling and they found like toxic materials or, residue in there, then we're in a different
Exactly.
ballpark.
Exactly.
Is there any talk amongst other municipalities in the county of doing something regional? Like, for example, in
That I don't know.
Flemington to, one place to grind things and to not do it near a stream and to have that one permit. Is there any discussion by municipalities about some sort of shared services sort of thing?
Don't know, could find out. Everybody doesn't do this. Everybody doesn't grind the materials on site like you do. I have another municipality that I work with, Bernardsville, and they do. Their operation is nearly identical to yours, and even with the size of the yard. And, they have the wood waste permit now.
So, just to follow up on a couple of things you said, if we don't do the wood waste and we keep the general permit now, and we had like those bins or dumpsters there or whatever, you're still saying we'd have to do some like berms and swales and stuff, we'd have to add that
There's gonna be,
location?
yeah, some
Okay.
modifications to the site. I don't think it's extensive, but we have to make sure that it conforms to the permit, like I said, 50 feet from, a swale, and make sure. The whole point is that it doesn't, there's no, it doesn't leak, there's no leachate from the material. But, it's in pretty good shape right now. What we don't know is where it's going, because that's where the drainage control plan comes in. So we have to do that, do that engineering work and see where it's actually going, because that may determine if, what additional grading or regrading, there may need to be.
So, your proposal that has the drainage control plan, it's my understanding we would need to do that if we didn't move to the wood waste permit still? Is
No.
that correct? No? Okay.
No.
Got it.
We would have to modify, we would have to
Okay.
do some site work to make sure that it's not 50 feet from the swale.
Okay.
But not the drainage control plan.
And what we have going on right now is okay until what date?
Well, I asked for an extension.
Okay.
We're out of compliance now,
Till they come with cuffs.
Yeah.
until they come, yeah.
So I will say this,
Okay.
they're not looking to torture you per se, they're really not. They're trying to get everybody to do the right thing. So I'm not worried that we won't get the extension that you'll need for whatever period of time that you need, as long as they have, as long as the dialogue is there and we can update them with what you're thinking about. I don't think it can go a year.
Six
But
months?
Could you go a few more months? I'm sure you could.
Has
Yeah.
anyone looked into what the cost would be? Like if we said today we want to start, loading the material in the dump trucks and moving it off-site, has Jason or have you come up with
I don't have the
an
number on that
estimate?
yet, no.
Or the where.
Yeah, he doesn't have that number yet.
So we may be able to get one more grind in,
Yeah, that's what I'm.
What did he say with the roll-off, though?
right?
So there's a roll-off
Like a
company,
several.
they're 600 a box.
Tomorrow.
And one of the issues is that material that goes in those boxes have to be, it's very restrictive. You can't have any plant waste mixed in with the twigs and branches, no weeds.
People are gonna dump everything in.
So what that would mean is we'd have to have that monitored, right? We couldn't just leave the box
Right.
unattended, so we'd have to lock that in the great yard. Probably one of the DPW guys would have to staff it. We'd probably want to make that available on a weekend, because a box, we can't have a DPW guy sitting there Monday through Friday. So we'd probably have to make it on a weekend. If we opened it up for 6 hours on a weekend, him and I ran numbers, it's about $250 for the guy, 600 for two per box, probably get 2 boxes. Him and I said, well, maybe quarterly, right? If we went that direction quarterly, the numbers are $6,000 roughly to do that system, where we still collect brush from residents quarterly, right? We have 2 boxes, maybe we do make up a day, April 1st, July 1st, October 1st, whatever that comes out to be.
So that's, you said 6,000 per quarter?
No, total.
Total, okay.
Okay.
Total. So that's a viable option. Jason's not saying the modifications to the grit yard are that minimal. He said there's significant grading that would have to be done.
Maybe. We have to do the drainage control plan to really
And
know
then
that.
the berm, he's suggesting that they really want a landscape berm, which would be dirt and seeded and,
It's not identified in the permit. They say that it has to be, they go as far as saying it could be sandbags. In the permit, it doesn't say that it has to be made of a certain material. But the point is, they don't want it to be permeable.
right.
That's the issue.
So when you and I originally spoke, right, this raised all kinds of red flags for me. So just to use the numbers part of it, we got 15,000 for the permit for the first year, roughly, right? 15,000 plus whatever we'll debate on what kind of upgrade we need to the facility. Then still the 12,000 a year that we're paying for grinding. So that adds like an additional 15,000 to that line item in our budget. And then next year, the permits are around 12 and change, that was what I'm hearing. Plus, we still gotta pay for the grinding, right? The grinding doesn't stop. If you do nothing and just collect brush, right? And let ask Jason and his guys to load it with loaders and truck it out of here, I don't know what that looks like. Like, I don't know what that cost is, and I don't know, the labor alone, moving it out of here could be something that we, I mean, it's something that we're already paying for, but if they're running brush, they're not doing what they were already supposed to be doing. So I didn't look at that as a viable option. I thought, just from our conversation, a reasonable option would be to move away from this, right? Because what I'm most worried about is the contamination issue. That's what's ringing the bells for me.
Yep.
All right, can we come up with 15,000 for the permits and stuff like that? Probably, right? Maybe, I don't know. But that's a lot of money for us. If we went to this box type system a couple quarterly, which I'm not even saying that's going to be perfect, but it is an option. We're looking at roughly like $6,000, and we're already pushing like 12 and change towards that program already. So we'd be saving $6,000, right? When I say 12 grand is what we're paying for grinding, we wouldn't be grinding anymore. So that doesn't pull away the benefit of dumping off your brush for free. Now, mind you, none of this, residents can still call a private company.
Yeah.
And they can cart away their brush. They can call any local company, I was gonna say phone book, but I don't think that exists anymore. They can Google any landscaper with a tree truck and get rid of their stuff. But this is a free service that residents are used
They
to.
can chip on their own
They
property.
could,
too.
yeah, they absolutely can do that.
But is it true, we're being treated like a generator?
Yes.
Because we're bringing it in?
Yes.
And none of this affects like the private landscaping companies around here. Like that's my understanding. Like
It's more work for them.
Sweet Valley, Rutgers, this doesn't pertain to them. That they could still do their thing if
I'm not sure about that. It would
They're being
depend on the
regulated.
facility. Because
that was my general understanding. But
It does have commercial and industrial applications are covered under that too. I'm not sure what they have in terms of a permit, but if they're doing that type of thing, they probably have something. It's not municipal, so I can't really speak to
Right.
it, but I'm sure there's something.
But I guess for the purpose of this conversation, the residents are used to this service. It's been a benefit, right, in East Stanwell. And now something's come up out of our control, something that we're not doing. And that's why I wanted her to come here, so, she could share what she knows and tell us where we are. Because technically, we're not in compliance right now, right?
Correct. You're out of compliance.
We're out of compliance, right?
Can the roll-off bins or whatever, can they be in the municipal parking lot, do you know? If we,
It wouldn't
would
change
that-
anything to do that.
No, but, I mean, we're not near a stream or whatever and stuff like that, would that?
I don't think the roll-offs, that
It
doesn't.
doesn't matter then,
It's only the
okay.
grinder.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not the collection
But the
of
problem
it.
with,
Right.
the problem with leaving the roll-offs in the municipal lot, they're not secured. Anybody can dump it.
No, I was thinking with recycling depot. Why we couldn't do it at the same weekend as recycling depot.
Because when we leave, the boxes are unattended, and then people are gonna put other brush in there that's not allowed, and that's gonna cost us money. If somebody dumps something that's not allowed in that bin, that's gonna cost us money. So it has to be monitored what goes in there. You know how you go
Yeah,
over there
I
and you
know.
see like somebody dumps a fence post and all that stuff?
Yeah, but couldn't they come pick it up after the depot's done? I mean,
I
couldn't
don't
somebody
think they work on command like
Yeah.
that, but
Oh,
maybe.
okay.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the carting companies aren't able to take
Got
stuff
it.
up immediately, so it's.
But it is something, I thought about exactly like you
Yeah.
just said with Jason. He's like, yeah, but look at the recycling now. As soon as the bins get there, people are waiting to dump their cans and bottles, and it's not monitored. But this is a little more sensitive, because I don't think Jason's guys want to go dumpster diving to pull out fence posts and weeds, right? And I think that's an unreasonable ask.
But that's a missing piece in the operations you have right now. As a former administrator, and that's, just we're putting that hat on for a second, to have it unmanned and have people, you just
Yeah.
trust them to put whatever you think the bad sooner or later is going to happen with that. At least if you had it more controlled in certain hours and whatnot, then,
Well, for
then.
not grinding, you could put it in the grit yard, right? You could
Well,
have the
right.
recycling be there.
So if you move away from this system we have now, and you go to this quarterly bin system, and I'm only saying quarterly, it could be monthly. It's just going to cost more. But I don't think a lot of people are doing yard cleanups in January, February, March, right? So you want something in the spring and over the summer. and maybe the fall, even though we don't take leave.
What about controlled burning?
That, I don't think, I don't,
I think generally
You need a
burning's
separate
not
permit,
permitted
yeah,
by
for
DEP.
incinerator.
If it's done safely,
Yeah, but there,
ash can be used as a
Op-
fertilizer.
Open burning is generally not permitted. I mean, you need permits to do things like that, or you need an incinerator. And I think, by general understanding, it's because the incinerators supposedly run so hot that they don't have all this pollution that comes out of them. But I mean, we can ask you, but I don't think that that's an option for us.
Well, it's certainly not a stormwater
Yeah.
permit option. It may be another DEP permit option, but it's
Yeah.
not under the stormwater permit.
Linda, do you know roughly, and I should have asked you this before the meeting, how many residents take advantage of the mulch?
I want to say about 30. I can go check to see how
that,
many.
Yeah,
that
it's
pay
okay.
for it though, right? We don't know how many
They
come
only
pick
pay
up.
if they want it delivered. If
So
they don't,
30
if they
about-
want to put it in their own truck and take it home, it's free.
Yeah.
But we charge for the delivery. We don't charge for the mulch.
Correct, but so you collect about from 30 people, right?
I would say, I mean, I could go check to see how many we
I
collected
guess
this
so we
year, but
wouldn't
I'm-
know
I'm
that it's
thinking
how many
no.
come for free.
But we know 30 residents are
People
paying.
pay.
30
for it.
coming in here to pay to
Got
have
it.
it delivered. But
Right.
we don't know how many are going
I
in there
forgot
and
that
taking
part.
it with their own truck.
Thank you, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, you could test monitor it for a little while,
Yeah.
and see who shows up. I mean,
We're not sure
Yeah.
how many people take advantage of it,
right.
but based on that pile, it looks like a lot.
It's a big pile.
It's a big pile for,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we just have to decide whether we want to do the wood waste right now or not, and then decide how we deal with the
Yeah, I think we
other
probably
things
need,
down the road.
we probably need the rest of Mike's research on the cost for the various options.
So
Yeah.
I think the only piece of the puzzle I'm missing is how much will it cost Jason and his guys to grab that stuff, put it in their trucks, and cart it somewhere, and how much do they charge to dump a dump
Well,
truck?
then there's be a disposal fee too.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if you could run through that, we could probably work up a cost estimate and then compare the two, or compare the three if we aren't able to offer the service anymore.
My biggest concern, I think, is if you continue to take this and continue to grind, the risk underneath these permits of contamination. That's my biggest concern.
No, I understand.
agree.
And
Yeah.
and that's not overstated risk.
Some towns have curbside shipping.
I think they did that here years ago.
I mean, where a
think-
truck comes in.
Yeah, I think they did that and they got away from it for different reasons. I think they used to have their own chipper and all that stuff.
Equipment, manpower.
Yeah, they got away
Yeah,
from it
it's a
for
lot of
different
staffing,
reasons.
right?
I
But
think
that's
he-
different. That goes right into a truck. It goes right into the bed of the truck, and then you take it
Well, we could look
to
at
wherever
that. I mean-
you're not holding it,
Yeah,
you're
there's
not
just
storing
some
it.
options,
on
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Well, if
because
you
I think
chip
that's
on
what
it
we
at the
did in
grit
the
yard, you
past.
get
They,
into
a
a
truck would
truck
come
or-
to your house
that would
and just
exempt
grr,
us.
I'm sorry.
and
And then you
dump.
would have
Yep.
the 6-month provision. You have to get rid of it within 6 months. I mean, that, again, that's out there as an option, but that's a big pile. Excuse me. If that volume was the same all the time, that's a lot of chipping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah,
comes.
I think years ago, did we have that the trucks came to your house and you had your stuff on the side of the edge of your property and they ground it and then left it there for you to use?
That's
I mean, is
possible.
that a possible?
So when I
option?
first got here, I talked to
Good
Jason
question.
about that, like, because this grit yard thing is not a new conversation.
Mhm.
And that's something they got away from years ago, because they thought some safety issues and, it is a risk to put the men out there on the side of the road grinding brush that's really not ours, it's from private property. So I
Right.
think that's why they moved away from it, but I can revisit that with him.
It's also a 2-man job, no matter how you cut it. You
At
got somebody
least,
with the,
yeah.
in the chip or somebody driving it.
Yeah.
It's a 2-man job.
But it almost sounds like the numbers that we're talking about are gonna be, if we're saying that for the permit, once we have the permit, testing would be 10,000 a year, the grinding is
Right.
another 12, so we're in the low 20s. And we know right off the bat, you said the dumpsters would be about 6,000 a year.
6,000
And-
staffed, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and then, I'm gonna assume that the labor for either option might be similar, but then we're gonna have the disposal.
No, so what I guess, just to be clear on the dumpsters are 600 per box. So
Right.
doing 2 boxes a quarter would be 1,200 per quarter, so 4,800. And then I added like $300 per quarter for manpower. The $600 includes the disposal of that, whatever's in that box.
Oh, okay, the six. it
Yeah, so that's like a
includes the disposal.
$6,000
Okay,
option
so it's much
to
less.
provide some type of brush pickup.
But are you saying 2 boxes is what you would need for the grindings or for the?
No, we wouldn't be grinding if we went with
Well,
boxes.
is that large enough? I mean, if you look at a regular roll-off, it's not that large. I mean, if you talk about for the brush waste of a township.
That's a good question, I don't know.
But how long has that pile been sitting there? That's the thing, like, if
Supposedly
you
it gets
if you
cleared out
had,
every year. I haven't measured it, but they supposedly chip it down to nothing every year. It doesn't look like that to me, but that's what I'm told.
you know, it's,
At one point, we were out of mulch.
Yeah, but that don't mean we didn't have brush to grind, we just didn't
Okay,
have
that's
mulch.
true, yeah.
I mean, it would be interesting to know exactly how many people come there,
I know.
you know, with it.
So,
I mean, you
John,
figure you
we're
have
not busy
4,000
on
residents,
Saturday?
right? I mean, how many people actually are
Stand on
bringing
Saturday and
their
count.
wood waste? It can't be
So
that.
I think,
Open Saturday.
you know what happens with the grinding? I think we budget a certain amount of money,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy grinds until we go through that money.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that does the whole pile, but I think from my conversations with Jason, it sometimes does. But I
We
could
go
be
through the
wrong.
whole pile, Mike.
We go through the whole pile? Yeah, and what we give them for money goes through the whole pile for the most part. I agree with you, Michelle, there's no way that looks like that goes away every year, but I'm told it does. I just never looked the day after grinding to see if it was empty. That pile's huge.
I mean, it has to be coming from somewhere other than residents. I mean, it seems to me, I mean, how many people are bringing their brush there? I mean, if you have,
You'd be surprised how
Yeah.
many people in this town have pickup trucks and bring their brush. I've been there a bunch of times since we moved here, and it's very rare that I go, that there aren't at least 1 or 2 other people that come in and out on
I think that's probably
And I don't
true,
know
I
if
just don't know that they're
weekends, I
residents.
think during Weekdays,
Mhm.
and a lot of people use that pretty much.
So if I will share from time, it's Cameron, right? He does catch people from time to time out of the area, and we pursue it the best we can. But the short answer is there is no way to know because we don't
Right.
staff it. But
Right.
hoping people are honest, let's assume they're all East Amwell residents. I can't sit here and say they're not because I have no evidence that says they're not, but it's a lot of brush,
Well-
for sure.
Well, it sounds like what we should do is maybe you and Jason, Mike, can work on the 3 options and so put some volumes and estimates and costs to it, and then we could at least have another discussion. And I'm sure in the meantime, residents will chime in with, their thoughts about the importance and the costs and the like, and we can go from there.
It seems like there should be a way to at least develop a program that works well for you. That's not all that burdensome. It may be different a little bit than what you have right now, but what you have right now is going to cost a fortune.
Yeah, I was thinking our general philosophy wasn't to add money to that section of the budget, but.
Yeah, right, yeah.
You know, and that's
That's the
what this
lesson
is
we
looking
want.
like, right? If we wanted to keep this, no changes, just keep doing what we're doing, it's gonna add significant money and expose us to a environmental risk that I don't know that we wanna take. But I guess that's what we're here to figure out, right?
Well, thank you for explaining where we are and some of the options, and I think, we're very transparent as a township committee, so I think if we'll collect some data, put some information out there, let our residents chime in, and then, these are some of the difficult things we have to face in, modern world and raising costs and changing environmental regulations, so we'll get the information out there and then continue the discussion.
I'll see if I can't find out other municipalities in the area, what their,
I'm told from our, at least
Interest
talking to
is-
Jason, I hate to keep referencing him, but that's who I talked to get my information. West Amwell, Delaware Township do something a little bit similar to what we do. We don't know what direction they're going in. I assume they have the same problem we have. Everybody.
Delaware Township doesn't, I live in Delaware Township.
They don't do
They
it.
don't grind. They've got dumpsters on the public works site.
But they take brush, right? I think
They take it. they put it in
Raritan, when I worked
dumpsters.
there, they have
And they have
dumpsters.
containers,
Raritan has containers. They don't have a pile, so.
right,
um,
right.
Mike, maybe you can even call over and get some numbers from them.
Yeah, I think so the 3 things I'm looking at, so I hear about 25,000 permit and grinding, about 25,000 a year with the environmental exposure. Just guessing, doing this quarterly thing, I'm hearing about 6,000. The unknown number I have is how much would it cost if we collected and Jason and his guys loaded and trucked it out. I don't even know if they have the time for that, but we'll ask, we'll find out, right? Okay,
And
so that's
any
my
of those
homework
options you
assignment.
might try, like maybe you do it for a year and
Right.
see, does that work?
And then another option, like you said, is do they want to go back to curbside grinding?
Yeah.
I know they got away from it for reasons, and most of them I was hearing was safety reasons. So we'll have to talk about that a little deeper too, I guess.
Sure. All right, thank you for
Thank you
coming.
very much.
Appreciate all your information.
Thanks, Rochelle.
Thanks.
Yeah, we're careful to separate the messenger from whatever things are coming from Trenton or wherever, so thank you very much. Okay. I'm sure residents will chime in with their thoughts as well. All right, so we're still on the discussion segment of the agenda. Let's go to Kleinschmidt House demolition, and I'll give an update, and I think Will's here, right? So we'll offer a chance for you to say something if you'd like about this. But for members of the public, we completed the demolition of the house. The Kleinschmidt House has been unoccupied for decades, perhaps all the way back to the middle of the 20th century. I understand that the last living member of the family, the son, died in 1994, and since that time the house has been dilapidated, an eyesore, and a potential public safety risk. Pieces of the house had even fallen into the cemetery, causing damage to gravestones and the cemetery wall. The Historic Preservation Committee and the Cemetery Association both wanted action to demolish the structure, but they lacked funding. Mike Dendis and I approached Senator Shirley Turner's office and were able to secure funding from the state to make the demolition possible. On November 20th of this year, the Kleinschmidt House was demolished, and the area has been filled and seeded. This is important to me because the Township Committee listened to the community and found a way to make this happen. We were able to eliminate the public safety risk, remove the eyesore, and even better, did all of this without a cost to our taxpayers. So we'd like to thank Senator Turner for providing the funding, thank Mike and Jason Silverthorne for all of their work on this project, thank the contractor who did a very good job, I think, out there, thank Will Harrison, who's here today, and the Historic Preservation Committee, John Statt, and the Cemetery Association for bringing this matter to our attention. We're going to be consulting with the town professionals about the possibility of maybe selling the property at tax sale. This property is very small, it's very narrow, doesn't appear to be developable at all. But perhaps the Cemetery Association or a civic group or an individual might be interested in buying the property for use along with the cemetery. Maybe that's a way to take the tax lien that I believe we have for unpaid taxes and give somebody a possibility of acquiring that land and then, using it in a manner that would be much more befitting for how it has been used and something that's in keeping with the cemetery next to it. So that's our update on Kleinschmidt House demolition. Also on the discussion segment, actually, let me call on Will. Would you like to say anything, Will, since you came here and this has been an issue for you? I want to give you the floor if you want to.
You're all going to love this. You said it all, my friend. I just want to thank each and every one of you, especially Mike, but all of you. This is something that we've cared about for many years. And you've already said maybe we can do something to improve. I've already mentioned to you that there may be some money left in the grant to apply to the rest of the property to maybe take down some of the trees. I'll leave that for you
That
folks.
turned out there's $150 left. I thought there was more. There's $150 left.
Well,
so that's a.
But we're still in the solution searching process, Will. So
I promise to be brief.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you, and thank you for your concern about the property. Okay, so let's move on to another item of the public's concern. So, unexplained drone activity over New Jersey. As I'm sure everyone's heard in the press, there have been reports of unexplained drone flights over various parts of New Jersey, including over government facilities. One example fairly close to us is Big Kittany Arsenal up in North Jersey. The federal government and the state have been investigating. Yesterday, the state provided a briefing to mayors. Today, the county provided us a briefing. The authorities, unfortunately, have not been able to track where the drones are coming from or where they're going. The Department of Homeland Security is sending radar and cameras in a system to try to track these drones. We've been advised that there's a 2023 law that allows drone flying at night. We're aware of no reports that there have been unreported drone activity in East Amwell, but the Township Committee considers this a matter of potential concern. I've drafted a letter on behalf of the Township Committee and residents to federal and state asking them to fully investigate, to brief us, and to take all necessary action to protect public safety and property. You should know that if you observe concerning drone activity, there are 2 tip lines you can call, and I'll ask Linda to put this up on our website for everybody. The FBI has created a particular tip line. Its number is 800-CALL-FBI. And we also have a tip number from New Jersey's Office of Homeland Security. That's 866-SAFE New Jersey. The authorities suggest that folks do not call 911 because that would potentially overload the circuits, unless there's an immediate public safety risk or if you see a drone on the ground. Authorities have been reporting 2 locations where there have been reports that a drone was actually on the ground because they'd like to get a look at one. They've not been able to do it so far. So that's the unfortunate update. I will say that I was heartened today to be on a call with the county OEM, who seems to be quite involved in not only monitoring the situation, but logging data. If you call them, for example, they showed us a screen where they log all the information of who you are, where the report is from. They upload that to the FBI. They've got redundant communication system in case there's a problem with communications, cell phones, telephones, computers. So I feel that they're taking it seriously. Hopefully we'll get some answers soon, and that's why not only investigating but getting back to us with information is important, and overall, public safety for folks. So I don't know if the Township Committee members want to say anything, or if they have any suggestions for anything else I should put into the letter for.
I'll just add on top of your report. I called Shirley Turner's office because she's helped us before. They know nothing, nothing that's not in the news. I called the state police. They're not told anything different than we're seeing on public news. And I talked to my friends at the Sheriff's Department. They're not told any more than what you're on that call. So
yeah.
If somebody knows something, they're not telling the people that have the enforcement activities.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that, I guess. I don't,
Yeah.
I heard the meeting. I think if you were on it today or yesterday, It was pretty weak, I guess. There wasn't much information.
Yeah, there's not a lot of substance because they haven't been able to track these things. So hopefully part of the new equipment they're sending in will allow them to do it.
I would caution
it's an
too
imperative.
residents, by the way, because I saw some improper social media posts where people are suggesting to shoot these things down. That is absolutely wrong, absolutely insane to mention that, and that's I just want to comment on that. I don't think anybody would do that, but please don't do something like that. That's a crime. So just don't do anything like that. I figured
People would do that if they.
Well, I'm sorry, but please just there'll be a segment at the end. That's okay. That's okay. I mean, then these are concerning issues, so we will give a chance to everyone at the end to speak. Every resident, please. But we wanted to let you know what we've been able to learn and what we're trying to do.
I just felt I had to add that because some people follow social media, and that's not the best advice that you could find.
Well, and state police in the county did tell us that there have been a number of reports that, when they investigated, did not pan out. So unfortunately, this happens sometimes during emergencies and concerns that people report things and it doesn't turn out to be true. So everyone just be safe, and we'll do everything we can. Okay, we have 2 other items here to hit in our discussion segment. So traffic calming for Ringo's Village. On December 6th, I met with the NJDOT, Department of Transportation, and the county to proceed with traffic calming. The DOT remains willing to do the restriping of the village that we talked about, but unfortunately the county wants more traffic data. to justify what traffic calming is needed. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get any restriping done now. We're going to have to wait until the spring. The county has helped us, though, by putting down roadway sensors, devices on the roads to collect traffic data right in the box there in downtown Ringo's. The plan now is that in the spring, we'll analyze the data and try to get traffic calming measures in place at that time. I also asked the county for assistance now so that we can help alert motorists as they're driving through that area, how fast they're going. And the county has indicated that they're willing to lend us a portable speed detection and display sign for a couple of weeks that they can drag around Ringo's Village on both 179 and 579 to alert motorists when they're speeding. So hopefully that will provide some relief to our residents as the county collects traffic data. In addition, we're going to continue to work on some of the other aspects of traffic calming that I laid out last time, including trying to get some flashing lights for crosswalks and things like that. You'll recall that our effort initially was to get the restriping in place, to use that to get some immediate relief for the village, and then move on to some of the other things. Unfortunately, as I said, didn't pan out that we're able to get that done, but we're undeterred and we will proceed. Next and final item on announcements is 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. Al, would you like to present on that, please?
Yeah, Dante and I went to the League of Municipalities and attended a seminar, Revolution 250. For those in the audience, if you remember the bicentennial, so this is the 250th anniversary. So last year's Township Committee created an ordinance to establish that. I had Linda send it to the state, so we're golden. I'm going to probably look for a subcommittee to find out some fun activities. I don't know if the schools are going to get involved in this, but I think it could be very interesting getting some stories of what battles or where troops were in this area. I mean, I've read quite a number of books, Battle of Trenton, Princeton, so forth. I don't know anything about the Amwells, but I'd love to dig into it. And, you know, my little fantasy is maybe we can have a reenactment in Clawson Park. But that's just, you know, shot in the dark, no pun intended. But I got a brochure, but I think it's going to be pretty fun, you know.
Are you going to dress up as Washington?
I absolutely would. I'll even ride a horse with a saber.
Maybe Martha.
I want to see with that wave.
Yeah.
All right.
At least I'll have hair.
I mean, there's so much that's important to celebrate, both about the national anniversary, but also the history of East Amwell.
Mm-hmm.
We're chock full of that, and New Jersey, and, you know, and the United States. You know, Will and the historic preservation folks, I'm sure, have information that they'd be willing to be part of. We have, you know, tours that happen through Ringo's and our historic places. We can do that. So a number of things we can have all through next year as we approach 2026.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, New Jersey really was the crossroads of the Revolution. There were more battles here than any other state in the country or union.
There's a famous monument right over the line in Raritan, Jerry's Ridge. I'm sure you guys know of it, Bill, I'm sure. You can walk up to where there was actually a battle. This soldier
Really?
got killed. Yeah,
Wow.
they've preserved it since then. So
yeah.
it's right past Toad
202?
Lane, yeah, on the northbound side.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Nice. Thank you.
So we've already started some planning. There's a
Yep.
group called Rev New Jersey that we signed up with as
Yep.
well, and so they'll be coordinating.
Yeah,
So
I got some contacts, so we're going to
it's
be in a
right
good
up
place.
East Amwell's alley. So, all right.
Thank you.
So I think we're up to item 12 on the agenda, ordinance 2414. Linda?
An ordinance amending Chapter 86, Historic Preservation of the Code and the zoning map of East Amwell Township regarding local historic landmarks and local historic districts within the township.
All right, so by way of explanation, Tam gave some introductory comments. Let me tell you a little bit more. So the planning board has drafted a historic preservation ordinance. This is one that would revise our current ordinance and has recommended the draft ordinance to the Township Committee. Some of the highlights are: 1, historic districts. Currently, the town's historic districts are only ones that are recognized nationally. For the town to have the ability to protect our historic structures and values, the town needs to designate historic districts locally too. To achieve that, this ordinance proposes to designate the same historical districts that already exist as local districts. Second, architectural guidelines. This proposed ordinance would establish architectural guidelines for historic buildings. And note, as Tam was saying, the standards would be guidelines, so they're not mandates. Landowners would not be required to follow particular architectural guidelines. However, having the guidelines would give the planning board, for example, the opportunity, when reviewing land use requests from a resident, to have a discussion and encourage architectural standards that would protect the historical character of our community. And then third, the ordinance would allow the planning board to designate bridges as historic. Our community has a number of historic bridges, and if we want to have a voice in protecting them, for example, if the county or the state were to want to demolish them or renovate them, this ordinance would give the town the power to designate bridges and have a say in how those actions would be taken. So today's action is just to introduce this, but there's some background so folks can think about their thoughts about what the ordinance seeks to achieve. All right, may I have a motion to introduce ordinance 24-14?
So moved.
That's, public hearing would be December 30th.
No. Can we change the public hearing date for one, because that's not convenient for our residents. That's like
Oh, wow. You're right.
over the
Yeah.
holidays and stuff. Can we move it to our actual meeting
Sure.
on January 9th of 2025, right? That's our first.
Yeah, is that the first, yeah, that's fine.
Because that's-
Everybody okay with that motion?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I'm just curious, why did you, are we having a meeting that day, or you just wanted to get
That's
this?
at 10 o'clock in the morning.
No, we have to have a year-end meeting.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is a year-end meeting, okay.
So I think Linda proposed doing it there because we'd be here, but I think that's fine since,
Mhm.
to make sure the residents are around, it's a good
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah, I mean, it's 13, 14 pages. I just started reading through it, and I'm not a lawyer like you guys, so it's taken me a little longer. But I have talked to a few people and that were part of drafting this, and I feel more comfortable about what I was, one of the members that was part of this shared with me. I trust them, I respect them, as I do you guys, but I haven't studied it. It's a lot of reading in a short period of time, so. But I think it's going in the right direction, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have the same, it was a lot of it.
That doesn't pose an issue, going from 24 to 25,
Oh,
the year?
I think that's why I did that.
Oh,
You're not supposed to introduce in one
Oh,
year
right.
and adopt in the next.
can we, then I'd suggest we introduce in January and adopt in February, because I think this is too big of a, I just don't think we should have a public hearing at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
on the 30th.
I'll agree with that.
Or, I mean, even, that won't help
So
either.
Yeah, so, and
we'll
why
just
is it-
reintroduce.
Why is it proposed as 10
'Cause
a.m.?
it's usually in the morning. That's what we started last year.
Yeah.
Well,
And the-
why is that, though?
'cause-
Isn't it
'cause
harder
it-
for people?
It is, but the end of the year meetings are usually just like finalizing bills and,
It's
know,
usually
it's
a
not
quick
usually like a
meeting
meeting
just to
meeting.
close.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't find 10 o'clock in the morning helpful. I mean, that's during the workday, right? I mean, are you
This
guys all
is-
available at 10 o'clock?
That's
No,
fine.
but
Well,
I-
besides retired people.
No, I mean, I
And
want to,
teachers.
Right.
yeah.
Well, that's what we set last year when we did reorg, and that's what we did
Yeah.
last year at the end of December. But if you want it changed, I can change the time.
I think we could discuss that.
Yeah.
Later on about our end of the year meeting.
So do we
So are
want
you
it?
comfortable moving the first reading to January 9th?
Well,
Seeing how.
I mean, there
Yeah,
are pros and cons. I mean,
There are.
you're okay. Okay,
I'm
please.
fine with it. I mean, we can't go from 24 to 25 when we're
But if we're
introducing an
changing the
ordinance.
time of that meeting tonight, then it would be at night.
Yeah.
True, I
But
still
I think
think it's
Jenna's
not.
concern was it was holiday time,
Yeah,
not
every-
not
Okay.
the hours.
Yes, correct.
Vacations, things of
Yeah.
that nature.
So I know this has been, I understand there's been a lot of work done and everything, and I'm not trying to push things off, but this isn't like the salary ordinance for the rabies clinic, this is kind of more in-depth ordinance that I think the residents should have a chance to speak about if they want.
Yeah, I mean, I
Thoughts?
don't
I'll
see
agree.
anything urgent to make us do it now and squeeze it in.
Well, not unless they knock down your bridge or do something else, but, okay. It
That's
sounds like,
government work. They don't work over the holidays. So their bridges are safe. I'd be comfortable, like Jenna's saying, move it to the 9th. It'll give me more time to digest it, but
Well, no, you were saying we can't, so we'd have to reintroduce this
On the ninth.
on the
On the
9th,
ninth.
right, that's
then
what I'm
wait
suggesting.
another.
That'll give me a month to digest it. I mean, I'm comfortable with what I was
Okay.
told. I'm comfortable with what you're saying.
Okay.
I just want to digest it a little bit more because it was,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot.
Okay, so, sounds like we'll hold introduction until, January, what was the date?
Ninth.
9th?
So are we reintroducing?
Yeah,
Reintroduce.
we'll
Okay.
introduce January 9th.
We'll introduce, okay.
Public hearing to be the 13th then, of February.
213, okay. Okay, so we're up to 13 on the agenda. Ordinance 24, we'll keep the same numbering, 24-15.
An ordinance amending the municipal code of the Township of East Amwell, Chapter 35, salaries and compensation.
Okay, this is a procedural thing we need to do in certain circumstances. So this amendment would amend the $25 per hour salary set for the clerical staff for the rabies clinic. And it would change the pay to $35 per hour. This would be so that employees are not making less than their regular salaries to come into work on a Saturday for the rabies clinic, which happens, what's that, February?
January 21st, I think
January
it is.
21st. So it's a one-day thing per year. The clinic hours, you should note, have been decreased from 3 to 2 hours. The funds for all of this come out of the dog licensing fees. So the change in salary for this couple of hours on this one day come right out of the licenses that dog owners pay. So this is not a matter that will increase taxpayer costs at all. Okay, questions about that?
It's it's January 18th, just.
18th?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
checked the, I had the
Sorry,
calendar, no,
hang-
it's fine, I know, I just had the calendar in front,
Thank
so
you.
residents know.
Okay.
Questions, comments? Would anyone like to make a motion?
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda. So here we've got 2024-124, which is a resolution on fire commissioners' salaries. We don't pay the salaries, but we have to approve them. 2024-125, which is a resolution reappointing Anne Marie Sylvia as the part-time tax collector. 2024-126, resolution to authorize bills and claims. And 2024-127, which is a transfer of 2024 budget appropriations, which is done at the end of the year, pursuant to authority to move things around to where we need them for the very end. Is everyone okay with these on the consent agenda, or anything that we need to discuss separately? Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the resolutions?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Good, thank you.
Ms. Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. Okay, approval of bills. May I have a motion to approve the
No,
December?
wait, skipped over
Which one?
Resolution 2024-128.
Oh, did I?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
Sorry.
It was in other resolutions. Okay. Sorry, item 15 on the agenda, resolution 2024-128. Resolution appointing Kristen Anastasia as municipal housing liaison. By way of explanation, the township's required to appoint a municipal employee to oversee the township's affordable housing program. This resolution would appoint Kristen as municipal housing liaison. She has prior affordable housing experience and has already been certified for some of the classes prior to beginning her employment in East Amwell. Questions about this one from anyone or comments? No. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Al?
Ms. Casper Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Enton?
Yes.
Mr. Nardi?
Yes.
Mr. Dendis?
Yes.
Mayor DePiero?
Yes. All right, now we're clear for 17, Linda?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 17, approval of bills. May I have a motion to approve December 12, 2024 bills of the evening?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, all in favor, none opposed. Item 18, approval of administrative reports. May I have a motion to approve the administrative reports?
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second that as
All right,
well.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, all in favor and no opposed. Okay, without objection, we're open to the public for matters of any kind. Yes, sir.
Yes.
And thank you for your patience waiting before. I appreciate that. Please come on right up to.
This is my first time here, I don't know the rules.
You're doing great. Please come up to the dais so folks at home can hear you. Thank you very much. If you tell your name and whether you're a resident.
My name is Dario Dolchevsky, I'm a resident of this township.
Thank you.
I would like to bring attention to a zoning issue that is old, archaic, and does more harm than good to this community. This problem is about home occupation rules concerning specifically home baking.
I'm sorry, home baking?
Baking.
Oh, okay. Like
Yes.
make a cake?
Baking, like
Yeah.
baking a cake.
Yeah, thank you.
For many years, New Jersey State was the only state in the union prohibiting home baking for profit. I have no explanation for that, why New Jersey wanted to be special. New Jersey is special, by the way. Governor Murphy, a few years back, dismissed that prohibition, and now the New Jersey State is offering, they call it a cottage food operator's permit. Everyone can apply it. It's all good. However, applicant must get an okay from their local zoning board. And for some reason, handful of townships in New Jersey still do not permit that. They still forbid that. And I did research this ordinance, and it seems like the argument against allowing home bakers to bake some cookies is what they worry about food traffic, parking issues, things like that. But these are not home bakers' issues. These are commercial bakeries' issues. If a home baker had such a volume of customers that they would create food traffic and parking issues, they wouldn't want the strangers to be walking through their house. They would open the bakery. So these concerns are not adequately presented. So I haven't heard a valid argument for this ordinance, this piece. And it is very easily addressable. If this is the concern, the food traffic and parking, this ordinance can be amended to allow one customer per hour at such a house, or make request that the home baker would deliver the cookies to the customer, and that problem would be solved easily. There's no need to prohibit such activity. A grandma that wants to bake some cookies, wants to make $20 in this township, she would have to go rent a commercial kitchen for $1,500 a month to do that. And I took the liberty in the last few weeks on visiting a couple of these commercial kitchens, because I'm seeking to get such a state license. So believe me, none of you present here, after visiting such commercial kitchen, would want food from such a place. These are terrible places. I mean, somehow they passed whatever they need to pass, but just when you walk in, you don't want any food from these places. So very definition of home baking is the product is made to order, and these days order is made by online and delivered to the customers when ready. There is no inventory of home baker to be displayed on shelves, so there's no reason for customers to come and look and choose and buy anything. That's not how home baking works. Home baking it's a rare order, specific for specific person, and being prepared and delivered to that person. There is no reason for anyone to come in. And besides, home bakers, who would want strangers to just keep going through your house? It makes no sense. So, and I know this is zoning board issue. However, zoning board would love to know that there will be no opposition from the township committee. So that's why I'm here. I would like the committee to consider this amendment and allowing the zoning board to amend this rule in such a way that such activity, simple baking of cookies, is permitted without having go to hire renting a commercial kitchen somewhere in Trenton. So that's my request. And I would love to talk to the zoning board, but I'm thinking that I'm going to be asked, well, is the township committee okay with it? And so that's why I'm here first.
Have you filed an application with the planning board?
No.
Okay.
I wanted to bring attention to the committee
I'm just
first.
making sure I'm understanding. And what you were reading from, is that an ordinance from East Amwell, or is that a state regulation you were reading about?
No, I wasn't reading from ordinance or the state, it's just my interpretation of it.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I understand. So, I mean, Frank can explain how it works generally, but basically, I mean, ordinances are passed by the township committee, and then the planning board applies them. So the planning board, I don't think asks applicants, what the township committee thinks about it. It's totally separate.
We can't give an opinion on something that may be before the planning board or may not. That's just not how the practice is. You'd have to file that application and see if it's even a permitted use where you're proposing to do it.
Well, it is not, and that's what needs to be changed, because the reasoning behind not permitting is false. It's a ruse. It says that the foot traffic and parking issue are the main concern. And I just explained that doesn't apply to 99.99% of home bakers, which orders are rare and delivered to the customer. There is no foot traffic nor parking issue.
Where is that what are you referring to?
The ordinance,
What's the ordinance number? Do you have it?
I don't have the number, it's home occupation rules. And
I see.
and one of those rules is concerning home baking.
So you're referring to one of our, I don't know the
That was a
ordinances all
Board
by
of
heart.
Health ordinance.
What's that?
It was a Board of Health ordinance.
A Board of Health
Mhm,
ordinance.
For the cottage food license.
Right.
So it sounds like what he's trying to do is preemptively, he hasn't applied yet, but he wants to get an opinion if we agree to change it, is what I'm hearing.
Well,
But,
the township, Lambertville passed an ordinance to change and allow for the home-baked businesses. And,
As most township in New Jersey already. There's handful
It's-
only left that has not.
Well, I appreciate you raising it to our attention. I personally had heard nothing about this before, so we can take a look and see what our ordinances say.
Yes, so I followed the county health department person request to come here, because there's 5 steps I need to do to obtain my New Jersey State cottage food operator's permit. And step number 1 is to come to the zoning officer and get okay from the zoning officer.
Right,
So when
we
I came to the
realized-
township, zoning officer says, well, our ordinance forbids that, so.
Right,
So you need a variance.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, the
Right.
variance for brick and mortar, whatever, exactly.
Yeah.
So, why would that ordinance still be on the books when the 99.99 of the country, it's never even had it before, or New Jersey did, and now Governor Murphy dismissed it. Only a couple of townships in New Jersey left clinging to it. And I would love to hear someone who is opposing to amending this rule.
Right, so what I'm saying is, this is the first we're hearing about it, and
Okay.
we thank you for that, and we'll take a look and see what it is. We need to familiarize ourselves with whatever our ordinance says first, and see what that is.
So how does a resident, so he's gone to the zoning, and she's like, well, I can't give you an okay because it's against our zoning. So what's his process to get us to amend an ordinance if he'd like? What's that
Technically, you have to
process?
file for a variance.
Variance,
Because it's
right.
not a permitted use.
Yes, but that's conforming to the rule. I don't want to conform to the rule. I want to change the rule.
Understood.
Right, so I'm not gonna be applying for variance, because variance is conforming to this nonsensical rule.
And what has the county stated when you spoke to the county? Did you, for
County-
applying for the
County
cottage
Health
food license?
Department person told me that, well, there's a handful of townships still clinging on
Correct.
to that rule.
I understand that.
So find out if your township is one of them. And unfortunately, East Time Township is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And when all the other townships, well, not all, but most, already get rid of that rule, why would East Time Township would still be clinging on to it?
I mean, just wild
Right.
guess, you're the first applicant that's coming.
Exactly.
Right.
And Frank says, no, file for variance. No, that's not what I want to do.
Okay,
I want to
so,
change it.
well, I understand, we totally get you, but it's not the place for discussion now.
Right, right,
because,
absolutely, yeah.
So what do I do?
So you can't do anything, right? So we're not even familiar with this issue. You've told us about it, so we're gonna take a look and see what our ordinance says,
Okay.
right? Because that's all we can do. We don't decide your application, that's the planning board. So we'll take a look at this ordinance now that we're aware of it.
All right. I'll be here at the next meeting, and perhaps maybe there will be some answers.
I don't know, I haven't looked at the ordinance. Like I said, this is the first I'm hearing about this. I don't know the policies, I don't know the applications, I don't know anything about it.
Has the zoning board has the power to amend this ordinance?
No. As I s-
Who does?
all right. We can't keep going too long on this, but let me explain to you. So we pass ordinances, right? And then they're applied by the zoning board.
Okay. So I'm at the right place?
So you're at the right place. You've let us know about the issue and we'll take a look.
All right.
Okay?
Sounds
We
good.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for coming. Okay, yes, Andrea, please.
Okay, quick comment about those ordinances. When I was on the Township Committee, the Board of Health ordinances were completely separate from Township ordinances. So if this gentleman said it was a Board of Health ordinance, I don't know how that affects what you guys do. I don't know why the Board of Health cares about parking, but anyway. And also in terms of what Mr. Nardi was talking about, the 250th anniversary, I just want you to be aware of the Sauerland Conservancy, which has done a huge amount of research and written books, and we do bus tours, and I have some information, but there's a lot out there about the Sauerland, John Hart and all that stuff. So don't ignore them, please. All right, but my big issue tonight, of course, is this dog issue. And Kathy Wolf knows more about the background of it than I do. I just saw something on Facebook about somebody torturing a dog by cutting its ears off with scissors or something. And that might not be right. Maybe Kathy Wolf can fill you in on more details. But I wanted to do some research from the county because I understand our wonderful animal control officer, who was great with me when I had the rabid raccoon in my backyard, has been cited by Frenchtown and by Hunterdon County with 3 violations. On Monday in court, it was held for the grand jury. The grand jury has to decide if it's going to be prosecuted or not. If the grand jury does decide, I went to the Hall of Record, the prosecutor's office today to find out. If the grand jury decides to indict, then there will be a date for arraignment. So there is no date right now. But I know I have limited time, but I'd just like to quickly read. I got copies of this accusation from the Frenchtown Borough Municipal Court. It's crazy. Part 1, there are 3 of them. Within the jurisdiction of this court, engage in official misconduct as a public servant by committing an act related to his quote, sick, office, but constituting an unauthorized exercise of his official functions with a purpose to, parentheses, obtain a benefit for himself or herself, or deprive another person of a benefit, end of parentheses, knowing that such an act was unauthorized or committed in an unauthorized manner, specifically by taking and keeping the victim's dog after identifying him as the owner in violation of NJSC 2C 30-2A, a second-degree crime. Second, within the jurisdiction of this court, engage in official misconduct as a public servant by knowingly refrain from performing a duty which is, parentheses, imposed on him by law and clearly inherent of the nature of his office. with purpose to obtain a benefit for himself, herself, and deprive another person of a benefit, specifically by refusing to turn the dog over to the Frenchtown Police Department in violation of blah, 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 second-degree crime. Third one, within the jurisdiction of this court, this is my favorite, commit the offense of theft by unlawfully taking and exercising control over certain movable property, namely pocket bully dog, belonging to Jose Rosado, with purpose to deprive him thereof, specifically by refusing to turn over the dog to the determined owner. Dog value is $3,500. Violation of NJSC, blah, blah, blah. So my question is, really, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, if you watched your neighbor cutting off a child's ears, would you just, let it go? Or, I mean, to me, this is analogous. But my question for you guys, because I know it has nothing to do with us, except that it is our animal control officer as well as Frenchtown's, but is there some kind of insurance that protects this person, or do they just have to come up with their own money for legal fees? Does anybody know anything about that?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
As far as I know, she's created a GoFundMe page for her legal fees that she's privately funding.
I'm not sure if it's GoFundMe or Facebook either.
Something like that.
Yeah, because there's a huge difference. I'm led to understand that GoFundMe takes a big portion of the money they get and keeps it for themselves. So, so as far as you know, there's no municipal insurance for this person.
We wouldn't, a municipality wouldn't be paying for that.
Okay. All right. Well, I just want everybody to be aware of it. I know there are a lot of people in this town that have dogs and love dogs, and would be quite concerned that this person is not allowed to protect this dog. I really am appalled. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public? Yes, Tam.
I might be able to help out a little bit on this last issue. With respect to food preparation, that, Andrea's right, that is under the health department. So the Board of Health the local Board of Health would help him with his permit for the food service. Planning Board can't give a variance to that particular ordinance because it's not a planning ordinance. With respect to the home occupation, he would probably need an approval from the zoning board in addition to the Board of Health, because we have an ordinance for home occupation and he has to comply with all those conditions. That's one of those conditional uses that I've talked about where the conditions are in the definition and they shouldn't be, and we need to fix that part of it. So, but the planning board can deal with the home occupation part, and then the Board of Health would deal with the food service part.
So I took his number. I'll do a little behind the scenes. I was gonna call the Board of Health and talk to zoning and see if I could put him on the right track.
Okay.
I don't, this ordinance I'm not familiar with, so it's the first time I'm hearing about our ordinance maybe conflicting with a state ordinance or law, and just don't know anything about it. So
Yeah.
I'll try to
Tracy
get him on the right
Carluccio
track. Okay.
should be able to help you
Thank
with
you
that.
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other members of the public have a comment? Yes, Rick? Hello?
Nice.
How do you like
space.
our podium?
I like it a lot. And it
Like it's
actually,
not tall enough.
I know, we need to talk, we
it
need to.
works.
We couldn't afford the high one.
Yeah.
No, this works fine,
We got
actually.
that medium.
I know we could get a lot of wood.
Yeah, we
It's a
got
very,
lot of wood
very
to
nice
give away.
podium.
Yes.
Rick Wolf, here in East Amwell Township. Tree cutting ordinance. My view of local government in a rural area like East Amwell is we ought to try to minimize regulations, minimize impacting people's lives, but when an action that one person may take could have adverse consequences to their neighbors, then I think it is incumbent on us to regulate that activity. For example, the residents have made it very clear that they want to keep East Amwell rural. Carried to its logical extreme, giving people the right to do whatever they want on their property. I could put a hotel on my farm and run a hotel, and we all know that that's just not consistent with what we want to see in East Amwell Township. You wouldn't tell me no to a hotel because you're necessarily adverse to hotels. You'd be telling me no to a hotel because of the impact that it would have on the residents in East Amwell. It doesn't just impact my land, it would significantly impact other people in the municipality. So what does this have to do with trees? Well, a resident a couple years ago gave me a book on trees. It's actually a very popular book on trees, and it was incredibly educational. And if you live on the mountain and you cut down a few trees on your property, that could significantly adversely affect your neighbors. The trees are interconnected, particularly on the mountain. And when you take down a number of trees, quite often what happens is that starts having a ripple effect. The trees that were sheltered before you took down the trees are no longer sheltered. They're not used to being no longer sheltered. They've also lost, and I'm going to put this in layperson's terms, their friends. Those trees start to die. When those trees die, then the trees behind them start to die. And this could have a ripple effect. It's not just an aesthetic ripple effect. On the mountain, you start taking down trees, trees slow the flow of water. You start having an increased flow of water, you start having a ripple effect from that. So my view is that we ought to seriously look at the tree cutting ordinance as it applies to the mountain. Obviously, we should look in the valley as well, but the mountain is incredibly environmentally sensitive. And while I don't want to make things difficult for people, and certainly if you have dead ash trees on your property, you could take them down. They're dangerous. But there should be a process that people have to follow. And there should be significant consequences if you don't follow that process. And the problem that I found when I was on the township committee is a neighbor would bring in a tree cutting service. That tree cutting service could take down 20, 25 trees in a day and take out the stumps. A neighbor calls to complain. By the time the zoning officer gets out there, the trees are gone, the stumps are gone. The neighbor's telling you, well, the resident is telling you, well, these were 25 dead ash trees. They probably weren't, and you can't prove that wrong. The evidence is gone. So there ought to be a process, particularly on the mountain, that if you want to take down a tree, you have to go through a process. And if you don't, there should be significant consequences. Now, obviously, if there's a storm and a tree falls on your house, I get that. Get the service out there, get the tree off your house right away. I get that. So there'd be carve-outs for things like that. But otherwise, particularly on the mountain, we should look really carefully at that ordinance. And I truly do believe, as I said at the beginning, we shouldn't overregulate people. But when your actions could adversely impact your neighbors and the municipality as a whole, then we do have to take a role there, particularly in an environmentally sensitive area like the mountain. This is something that, had I stayed on the township committee, it was high on my list to tackle, a sensible, protective tree cutting ordinance for the mountain. And then you could figure out how you want to deal with the valley. I don't know that you'd necessarily need to be as rigorous in the valley, but I would give that a relatively high priority. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I see no one else. Twice? Actually, 3 times? All right, but please be brief. Please be brief, yes. All right.
I just have one little bone to pick with what Mr. Wolf just said. Having lived in the Sauerlands for 50
Yes.
years as of this summer, the problem with the trees, talking about trees sheltering other trees, and the smaller ones nearby will die if you take down the sheltering trees. My understanding is it's the opposite, and I've had woodland management for many years. The word is not sheltering, it's shading, and removing some selectively shading big trees allows the smaller ones to grow and thrive. So I'm not commenting on the ordinance. Don't know anything about it, haven't read it, nothing. But I just want to pick that bone about sheltering and shading. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mike, since I see you're here, is there anything you want to say about OEM and drones or anything, or any other issue? I'm only picking on you because you're in the audience. Oh, great, come on down. Mike, come on down.
It could be him flying them.
Mike, you've got a new car, yeah.
No,
Price is
the
right.
only thing I have to say to the residents is please, the biggest thing is don't call 911 unless there is a drone on the ground, and that means a drone that's inoperably on the ground, not one that just landed and took off. All right, because unfounded calls, the call up at Spruce Run sparked a boatload of equipment on the road for no reason at all, that people worked all night looking for something that really wasn't there. So don't call 911, call the hotline. Please sign up for our township. I think Gary sent this to you to put on our township site, the unmanned aircraft. And I know it's frustrating. And yes, please don't shoot them down. We don't know whether they're carrying a biohazard or what they're doing. And the frustration is for everybody right now. And hopefully the government will catch up to whatever's going on and take care of it. Otherwise, that's it. Stay warm.
Yep.
I'll talk with you guys more about having an available warming center if we have issues.
Excellent.
Everything else is on our notices, so.
Great, well, thanks, Mike.
I see you have a new jacket. I like that.
I like
we
the
should, you should
hat.
get Velcro patches. Just change them for whatever meeting.
No.
Like
No,
you
I
can
don't-
change
I don't
from
do that.
OEM to fire.
I'm all in. And
You
remember,
got to change your jacket now.
I have all our cots and stuff ready to go.
Yes.
We need to coordinate a location.
Yeah, so what he's referencing is we've been working on trying to get OEM staffed up and to take care of whatever eventuality, so thanks for that, and thanks for what our OEM, you and Gary, are doing on drones and everything, so thanks,
Yeah.
Mike.
No, I have 42 cots. I've got blankets and pillows.
Yep.
Actually fitted for this room here, in case we have an issue. But
Like
Yep.
a
Little
warm-
by
not
little.
like a drone, it's a
Yeah,
warm
if Mike
initiative.
asks a
Yeah,
lot
it's
of
like-
questions, I'll take a cot.
I'll take little by little. We'll get
I'm
there.
not talking the rest of the day.
No, I'm just joking.
Anyway, that's
Thank
all
you.
I have. Everybody have a great holiday.
Yeah, happy
Thank you.
holidays.
Thank you.
Okay, it sounds like we're closed to the public at this point. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Any other new business or comments from members? Appreciate all the work today. And Mike, I do value your comments. I'm just.
Jenna doesn't.
You had a 5-question limit. You only did 2, you're good.
Yes.
TC, I'm working on that grant for Park and Rec for the shade, so I'm already logged on and
Okay.
entering information and click, next, so
Okay.
I should wrap up in another.
I guess I do have an announcement if I can.
Please.
We got $75,000 from the county grant. That's what it came out to be, 75, not 150 that we put in for it.
So,
That's great.
so wait, I think you guys are talking different subjects. He was talking about
No,
a
I know.
possible.
Yeah, you're talking
Yeah.
All right, wait,
the,
so make sure members of the public
Pickleball.
understand.
Okay, clear it up.
So
I'm shade.
Al's been working on trying to get a grant for shading for playground.
Correct.
Because it's a costly thing, but it's something we'd like to do if it's possible. Mike was saying that on the grant we put in for the courts.
Pickleball, yeah, the tennis courts. It came back this week and it's 75,000, not the 150 we put in for it.
So it's helpful, but not sure we can work with it. We'll take a look, but again, we're trying to rehabilitate those tennis courts because they're in such desperate need of repair. People use them all the time. The problem is they seem to be very expensive to fix, so we've been trying to get grants and other things to be merciful to our taxpayers. Not sure where we're going, but yes, we just got that news today, so we'll see where that takes us.
That's great, though. That's a
Yeah.
large amount of money. That's
Yeah,
great.
it is.
Yeah,
Just-
awesome.
Yep.
So now we only need 350 to finish it.
We're still looking
And
at
on
it.
the good note.
Yeah, all right, so Mike, on the good note, down at the League of Municipalities, I spoke to 2 different vendors that put in tennis courts, and I said to them, look, we are trying to rehabilitate courts for our residents. They both reached out to me to get information. They want to come and give proposals. So
Okay.
let's see if we can, just like Kleinschmidt House, let's see if we can make something happen.
We make rain happen, right?
All right, thank you, Eeyore. Anything further? Nothing? All right, thank you, everyone. There being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
I don't think we can adjourn. If
Well-
we're going to executive after, don't we adjourn at executive?
Oh, are we going back to executive?
We are.
Yeah.
No, are we?
Okay.
Thank you,
So
Michelle, for
sorry.
staying.
Sorry, I was trying to get out.
I know
Well,
you were.
Thank you to members of the public.
Thank you, everyone.
So I guess, Jenna, do you have a motion to go back to executive?
I do have a motion to go back into
All right.
executive.
Do we have a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Jenna, you got the door?
Aye.
Want me to get the door?
All right, thank you, everyone. Happy holidays if we don't see you.
What are we doing in executive?
We're finishing up a discussion on, you could